may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, based on the feedback that I've gotten over the past 2 videos, it looks like y'all definitely enjoy us going through and just looking at players going next to each other in 2021 fantasy football drafts and trying to do an in-depth breakdown on both player, trying to identify who is the better value, whether or not they are right next to each other in drafts or maybe even 4 or 5 picks apart. But nonetheless, let's go over to the running back position yet again, and let's talk about the back-to-back first running back drafted in the 2020 and 2021 NFL draft classes. Now, no, this is not a Dynasty Fantasy Football video. Y'all know we cover Dynasty Fantasy Football every single day on our other channel. But what we do have is very exciting announcements for anybody playing in a Dynasty format. If you go over there to Patreon right now, you are not only going to find updated rookie draft ADP that we have accumulated over a decent amount of drafts that have all occurred after the NFL draft, but also you are going to find our finalized rookie rankings for both 1 quarterback leagues as well as Superflex tight end premium leagues. So, of course, go over there, check that out. The ADP is actually not behind a paywall. You can just go through and pull that up on your own. It's just I don't have a website to post the ADP on, so it's a lot easier for me to just throw up the picture of it there. So, yeah, go let me know what y'all think. And, of course, if you are a Patreon supporter, feel free to shoot me out a DM, and we can debate some of those rankings like we have done throughout the entire offseason. But that should be it. Let's dive into this video. And let's start it off with Najee Harris, the first running back drafted in the 2021 NFL draft. And I have to come out here and I have to just take an immediate L where I said, hey, Najee Harris was not going to be going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I said that if you were going to be projecting the Steelers to take Najee Harris in the first round of the NFL draft, that was most likely going to be wrong in that you were looking at the Steelers as a team that had too many holes elsewhere where they really shouldn't go and try to invest significantly into the running back position, because we know the running back position historically hasn't had too big of an impact on the overall efficiency of the offense compared to what you would expect from a quarterback or from a key member of the offensive line. And we were like, hey, Pittsburgh, they have definitely seen their offensive line get downgraded over the past few years. We are most likely going to be looking at them taking an offensive lineman in the first round. Well, all of that analysis was complete garbage. All of that just went out the window because they indeed take Najee Harris with their first pick in the 2021 NFL draft. And from there, we are looking at Najee Harris and we're going, hey, it doesn't matter what we thought before. Now he is going in and he is going to be an immediate workhorse at the NFL level. This is going to be someone that is seeing usage on all 3 downs. This is going to be someone that has a ridiculous amount of volume. And you can already tell this based on where current drafts are having Najee Harris go off the board, where on average, he has an ADP of anywhere from the pick 18 to 19 overall, which puts him clear in the middle of the second round. And this is surprising because with Najee Harris here, I mean, yes, he is going to get that immediate volume, but I mean, are we sure he is that good of a running back prospect? Are we sure that he is such a good running back prospect that he should be going higher than where you had Cam Akers, DeAndre Swift, J.K. Dobbins, even Jonathan Taylor going in fantasy drafts last year? Now, let's kind of take a step back. Let's look at his prospect profile, and let's also dive into some recent usage at the running back position from the Pittsburgh Steelers and try to get a better understanding of what our projections should be his rookie season in 2021. Well, if you're looking at Najee Harris, there are a few red flags on his profile, and I know that nobody likes talking about red flags because he is elite in so many different categories, and I do not want people to think that I do not believe Najee Harris is going to be a talented running back in the NFL. I mean, we can be on board with Najee Harris being a great NFL running back while also acknowledging the things that do not historically trend well for Najee Harris, such as his age coming into the NFL. I mean, this is something that especially as of late, you just never see a running back coming into the NFL at 23 years old having actual success at the next level. And I understand a lot of people are going to go down to the comment section. A lot of people are going to be telling me, but Mason, it doesn't matter. Why are you bringing this up? It doesn't matter if he comes in at 20 or 23 years old. You're not going to be trying to figure out what he's going to be doing with he's 30. So why are you talking about him being a little bit older? And the main reason for that is just historically, you have a much higher hit rate and just an overall success story with those players that are coming into the NFL at 20 or 21 years old, especially when they get that round one draft capital, compared to those guys that stay 4 or 5 years in college. And then by the time they're in their final season, they are a 22, 23-year-old running back just bulldozering over 18-year-old kids that are never going to step foot on the NFL field. So please understand that we're bringing up Najee Harris's age, not necessarily to speak on what he's going to be like in 5 years and how long his NFL career is going to be. No, it's more so because there is a strong correlation at the NFL level for success with these running backs and wide receivers with their age coming in combined with their draft capital. But you can overlook that age slightly when Najee Harris is just completely dominant in some other categories where we know that he gets the draft capital being the 24th selection off the board. And that definitely indicates that this should be a player that you're automatically projecting to have that workhorse down role at the NFL, especially when the situation's just like Pittsburgh. But more importantly, even, you're looking at Najee Harris as a running back that has the size to be that workhorse. I mean, this is a player that's 6'1", 232 pounds. I mean, y'all have seen pictures of him. Y'all have seen that this man is just a complete freak. Now, I will say the BMI isn't necessarily as high as someone like a Derrick Henry, but nonetheless, I mean, it's still a 30.6. So here you're looking at him going, yeah, I mean, his BMI reaches the threshold that we have previously established. And also he has the height and weight to go along with it. And that, of course, first thing, you need to see the BMI, but then you also need to understand that raw weight also is definitely an indicator of how much volume a running back can handle at the next level. While we want to take note of a running back being stocky versus a running back just having that raw weight, I mean, if you have both, it's much better than only having one. Now, if we are looking at Najee Harris and his production profile, I mean, this is what a lot of people are getting excited about with him coming out of Alabama. I mean, he was just absolutely absurd. He averaged 19 carries a game. More importantly, though, and I know we always say that, but 3.5 receptions. And this is something that I kind of get frustrated with people talking about Najee Harris. I mean, people act as if he is not a good pass catcher. And I go, at the very minimum, he is a baseline pass catcher that should be able to get the job done. I mean, at the very minimum, he is good enough to play on third downs and to play in passing down situations. Whereas he also has the ceiling to come out and be, I don't want to say a Christian McCaffrey type player, but no, he has the ceiling in the receiving game based off that college receiving production to be a fantastic running back in the passing game. Not just average, but far above average at the same time. He is a strong pass catcher. I hate when people just look at his size and just naturally want to assume that he's going to be a player that's a first and second down running back. And now with these limited touches, to be honest, because you would expect a running back with his frame to be touching the ball 30 times a game in college, but we know he played for Alabama. That's not going to happen. Regardless, he had ridiculous efficiency. I mean, he actually had 145 total yards a game and 2.5 touchdowns scored a game. So Najee Harris, fantastic final season at Alabama. And now he's going into a situation in Pittsburgh where he really should project just to be the guy. I mean, nobody's going to sit here and argue that this is going to be a committee because you look at the rest of the roster. I mean, you have Najee Harris, Benny Snell, Anthony McFarland, and Kalen Ballage. I mean, if you were projecting anybody to be a significant player out of that group outside of Najee Harris, I mean, that is just a bad projection. I'm expecting that Najee Harris comes in, and we have seen Mike Tomlin time and time again want to use one running back on all three downs. I mean, if we go through his recent history, you go through and the leading running back in touches per game in 2020 through 2018 was James Conner. James Conner's worst season, and I understand that James Conner definitely fell off near the end, but even his worst season out of those three, he averaged 15 touches a game. Then you go through, and obviously Le'Veon Bell was there before that. And with Le'Veon Bell, I mean, you're never going to be trying to project a player like Najee Harris to be prime Le'Veon Bell. But if we were just trying to look at usage here, I mean, Le'Veon Bell from 2013 to 2017 did not see a season where he had less than 20 touches in a single game. I'm sorry, per game, obviously. So please take note of the fact that Mike Tomlin, over the past pretty much decade, is nonstop looking to implement that workhorse running back, that guy that's going to play on all three downs. And we've already established that Najee Harris has that profile to have that capability. So here, I mean, Najee Harris stepping into a great situation with his volume, but the problem is going to be the efficiency. I mean, the problem is this Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line isn't anywhere close to what it was over the past decade, to be honest, because we know that this is a team that has historically had an elite offensive line, not even just an average one, but one that's near the top of the league. And we actually saw this in 2020 with the overall running back finishes on a week-to-week basis being very far down compared to what we're used to with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, obviously, you had different running backs starting at different points of the season. One week it would be Benny Snell. The other week it would be James Conner. And I understand, guys, that yes, Najee Harris is significantly better than every running back that was in that running back room. Najee Harris is going to be able to do more on a per touch basis if he is in the exact same situation as those players. But if we go through and we look at the leading score for the Pittsburgh Steelers at the running back position in weeks 1 through 16, I'm not going to bore you with all the numbers we got, but I can give you the average, which the average for that top running back was a running back finish with 13.46 points per game. Now, that puts him squarely at the running back 24, so a low-end running back 2, high-end running back 3, and I just want to show this in that the guy there that was the starter, the majority of the time, he was getting volume. The problem wasn't the volume, the problem was the efficiency based on the offensive line play and based on the fact that Ben Roethlisberger doesn't have the same type of arm strength to stretch the field that he did previously in his career. So with Najee Harris, you're excited about the volume. You have to question the efficiency. Now, if you go over to ESPN's projection system, which by no means is great or anything, but we just want to look at a baseline. I mean, they have him projected for 222 carries, 51 receptions, almost 13,500 total yards, and then 9 total touchdowns. So if you do some per game averages on this, that's 17 touches a game, and that's 84 total yards a game. Honestly, I think that's the floor for Najee Harris, given the fact that you should be expecting so much volume. I think you should be expecting at the minimum 17 touches a game. I think upwards he can get up to 22 based on the fact that you're not going to be expecting Kalen Ballage to come in and take carries away from Najee Harris. So here with Najee, I just want to recap it and saying, I actually like investing into volume where it sees fit. I like fading projected efficiency because we know efficiency is a lot more volatile than the volume itself. But still, there are reasons to be a little bit hesitant on going all in on Najee Harris at the beginning of the second, the mid-second. But if he falls to you at the end of the second round, I think that would be a great pick. But let's talk about another running back that's going a little bit later, actually. Let's talk about Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who is going on average about 3 or 4 picks behind Najee Harris. And here with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, what's actually really funny is he is over a year younger than Najee Harris already, which is kind of funny to just look at given the fact that Clyde Edwards-Helaire already has that experience in the NFL. He was also a first-round draft pick in 2020, the only first-round draft pick out of a running back class that had Jonathan Taylor, Cam Akers, J.K. Dobbins, DeAndre Swift. I mean, so many talented guys. And with CEH, he has a very weird size profile. I mean, you're looking at him, he's 5'7", 207 pounds. And what we talk about, though, is that BMI is actually the most important thing to look at, and that his BMI, given he is so short, is up there at 32.4, which is an elite BMI at the running back position. So while his raw weight number isn't there, and of course, you would rather him be 6 foot, 225 pounds with a great BMI compared to 5'7" with a great BMI. But nonetheless, I'm still not worried about the size. I still think this is a running back that can play on all 3 downs. You look at his speed. I mean, he does meet the minimum threshold for his 40-yard dash. Barely, but he still meets it for what we are going to be looking for with those top 12 running backs. And he was an elite pass catcher coming out of LSU, and he is still an elite pass catcher at Kansas City. I mean, we saw him in his rookie season look great on obvious passing down situations with Patrick Mahomes under center. And with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the more appealing thing about him, which we already discussed, is the fact that he is going after Najee Harris in drafts right now. He is going about 4 picks after in those 2021 redraft leagues. Now, projecting his usage for 2021 is going to be a little bit harder given the fact that this roster does have some changes being made. I mean, Damian Williams is let go, and obviously Damian Williams was an opt-out in 2020, but nonetheless, it's great to see that this team has the confidence in Clyde Edwards-Helaire to let Damian Williams go. Also, Le'Veon Bell is gone off this roster as well. And I know the narrative around the Kansas City Chiefs is, But Mason, the Chiefs are a pass-happy team. Mason, the Chiefs are actually not a good situation, given the fact that they're just going to be looking to throw, and they're not going to be running the ball at all. Well, guys, that's just mainly narrative. I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs were actually exactly average with their rushing production last year. They were 16th in rushing yards in the entire NFL. And we understand that with the Chiefs, what you're actually excited about is the fact that they are going to be in the red zone consistently, given the fact that this is an offense that should be incredibly efficient with both Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. So while, yes, you're not going to be expecting the Chiefs to be a Baltimore Ravens type team when it comes to getting those rushing attempts up, I mean, the offense is going to be so efficient, you're chasing those red zone touches regardless, that no, the Chiefs is still a great situation to be in for a starting running back. It's still one of the best situations you can be in the entire NFL. Please, just because CEH did not live up to expectations his rookie season, do not automatically associate that with the fact that they saw some negative variance in the amount of rushing touchdowns that you would expect from their running backs in 2020 and try to project that going forward, because you are going to be losing that bet, and I promise you that. Now, if we go for what actually happened in 2020 in this backfield, I mean, it was just a tale of two different seasons, where before Le'Veon Bell came in, you look at Clyde Edwards-Helaire at the beginning of the season. He actually was a low-end running back 1 right away in his rookie season. He was the running back 11 in points per game. Now, in the total season, he finished as the running back 23, but a lot of that was due to the fact that Le'Veon Bell came in, and I know Le'Veon Bell was not seeing a ton of touches per game. I mean, he only had 7 carries a game. He had about a reception and a half. But like I've said before, I mean, this Chiefs offense is so efficient that every touch you're getting at the running back position should have a significant amount of production coming with it, and that he was able to total 40 yards a game on those limited touches, whereas with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, on the other hand, I mean, he averaged about 13 and a half carries a game, about 2.5 receptions, 84 total yards a game, and he was only able to come away with 5 total touchdowns on the season. So what I want to focus in on here is the efficiency, and I know we say to fade efficiency all the time, and most of the time you want to, except in the case of the Kansas City Chiefs, except when you can bet on that outlier consistently being Patrick Mahomes. That's when it's completely fine to try to chase that efficiency, very similar to what you're doing with Aaron Jones when you're drafting him alongside one of the best quarterbacks in the game in Aaron Rodgers. So with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I'd expect him to get the majority of this Le'Veon Bell usage, and if he can get his overall touches up to 19 touches a game, which I think is entirely possible based on what we saw at the beginning of the year, I mean, this is an offense that can produce an elite running back 1 in fantasy, which I believe Clyde Edwards-Helaire can be. I understand a lot of people got burnt because they spent a top 5 draft pick on him last year. But no, I don't think you need to be worried about that. I think you actually need to be using those people who got burnt, those people who are kind of just soured out and not going to be drafting him again in 2021, using that to your advantage by picking Clyde Edwards-Helaire up at a discount. Now, between these two running backs, I mean, it's kind of hard to sit here and say this, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire, in my opinion, is the better value. And the reason I'm saying it's hard to say it is just because one of our number 1 rules in fantasy is chase the volume, fade the efficiency. We are doing the exact opposite here. That's why I'm trying to be completely transparent with the breakdown. That's why I'm trying to honestly convince myself to change my mind when we verbalize this. But I think if you're on the clock and both of these running backs are available, you should most likely be going with Najee Harris given the volume. But Najee Harris currently a mid-second round draft pick. Clyde Edwards-Helaire currently a late second round pick. So I think based on those prices, when they are neck and neck, and it's so hard to be looking at these running backs in a different light, I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire the better value. If you're on the clock with both of them, take Najee Harris, but it's so close. I think these running backs should have about identical matches with their ADP, yet I think given the fact that Najee Harris is going to cost you more, if they're both on the clock, like I said, take Najee Harris, because maybe in your later draft, when you're drafting in the late second round, you'll be able to pick up Clyde Edwards-Helaire when Harris isn't on the board. Well, thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really hope y'all got something from it. Of course, go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton, and I will see y'all with the video tomorrow. I really owe a massive thank you for all the Patreon supporters in Ben, Braden, Zach, Ryan, William, Derek, Justin, Marshall, Tyler, and Eamon. Thank you so much, guys.